Hello and welcome to the JB&M Sports Fanatic channel. Thank you for joining me for this video. And Houston Texans have added another running back to an already, guess you can call it, crowded running back room. And that's going to be the addition of Rex Burkhead, the former New England Patriot. Running back will be coming over to add some more depth to that position. And Houston, obviously, the number one running back in their system is David Johnson, but we all know that David Johnson from time to time, he's struggled with injuries as of late. And so they're looking to bring more depth behind him. They brought in guys like Mark Ingram, who was dealing with his own injury last year and did not look the same this past season. But obviously, they want to go ahead and see what he can do. And given the head coach, familiarity with Mark Ingram, it makes sense they brought him on. Philip Lindsay, another running back, who had to struggle with some injuries last year, but, he has really been pretty solid since he's been in the league, and he certainly does come with some potential there. And then you have, guys like Buddy Howell, Scotty Phillips, to fill out the rest of the running back room there. So, yeah, the addition of Rex Burkhead, he's certainly someone that they can utilize, as that pass catching type of running back. And given how Houston, they love former Patriot players, I can see why they picked up Rex Burkhead. Rex is good. He's used to being in the crowded backfield last year, guys like Damian Harris, Sony Michel, James White, and still, he found ways to, have moments where he had big games. And so if Houston plans on riding the hot hand throughout games, then I could see why the addition of Rex Burkhead would make sense, as he does come with some of that, pass catching ability, as well as that twitch. He does have a game or two where he seems like he's just, running, and it's like, oh, man, Burkhead's really good. And so certainly someone that can come in and make an impact here. And given, what the Texans are looking to do, I think, this is certainly a good pickup. But the only concern is that, there's only one football and there's like about four guys who are capable of getting some carries. So we'll have to see how that lineup goes, which is what they'll be competing for in training camp, to see, what that pecking order is going to look like and who's going to get the bulk of the carries. Obviously David Johnson, but, should he go down, who'd be next in line? So certainly things like that. Is what the Houston Texans will be looking to do. In addition to that, obviously, they lost their, top wide receiver from last year, Will Fuller. We all know about the Deshaun Watson situation, and we're waiting to see how that plays out. But, whether the quarterback is Tyrod Taylor, or Davis Mills, we'll see how things play out for Houston. But certainly a lot of questions this time around for the offense. Brandon Cooks, is he going to be able to, uphold perhaps the number one spot? You still have Randall Cobbs, the addition, and you still got guys like, Andre Roberts, Kiki, all those guys on the at the receiving court, Chris Conley. So a lot of guys that we'll just have to see how they fit out. Nico Collins, how does he fit into that? So many questions for the Houston Texans for sure. But Rex Burkhead, he's had a pretty good career so far. In his first, he's been with two teams throughout his league since he came in 2013. He spent his first 4 years with the Cincinnati Bengals, and throughout his time with the Bengals, he had 87 rushes for 375 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns, along with 34 receptions for 288 yards and a receiving touchdown. In 4 years with the Patriots, he got to start actually 8 games with the Patriots. He started 1 with the Bengals, but 8 for the Patriots. He had 253 rushes for 1,026 yards and 11 rushing touchdowns. And he also added on 96 receptions for 856 receiving yards and 7 receiving touchdowns. So certainly, although he spent the same amount of time with each team, the Bengals and the Patriots, he certainly was utilized more for the Patriots and was able to, tap into his potential more with the Patriots in that system. And so we'll see just how the Houston Texans choose to utilize him, but certainly comes with the experience and shows that he has the capability to contribute as a rusher and passer. So certainly intrigued to see how this is going to work out for the Houston Texans offense, which will be certainly looking for as many playmakers as they can get. So wouldn't be surprised if they utilize perhaps sometimes, 2 running backs. But it really just a lot of questions, and so we'll have to find out closer to the season. A little bit more about Rex Burkhead, life before the NFL, and his personal life. He actually was a history major at the University of Nebraska, where he earned his bachelor's degree in December of 2012. He was the first team COSIDA Academic All-American and All Big Ten selection in 2011. He was an all first-team academic Big 12 pick in 2010 and was a 3-time Big 12 commissioner's honor roll pick. And so yeah, he certainly was extremely smart. He took the student aspect extremely serious, extremely serious. He also was, let's see, he was given the Nebraska Student Athlete Hero Leadership Award winner in 2012. He was also chosen as one of the uplifting athletes champions of 2011, 2012 for helping to put the national focus on helping children with rare diseases. Outreach work has included team hospital visits, the Madonna wheelchair football workshop, and the FCA and the Irving Rex Center. And so some of the accolades he was able to accomplish there. He was a standout performer for Plano High School. He helped them go to a 10-2 record and the Class 5A state playoffs in 2008, rushed for 1,762 yards and 28 touchdowns. He also caught 42 passes for 594 yards and 5 touchdowns. He was named first team Class 5A All-State selection by the AP and the Dallas Morning News. All Area Offensive Player of the Year. The Morning News listed him among the top 25 prospects in the Dallas Metroplex and one of the top 30 recruits in the state. And this is all as a senior there. So as a freshman, he was one of 6 freshmen to see action, and he was the second leading rusher with 346 yards and 3 touchdowns, despite playing in just 9 games. Um, and then as a sophomore in 2010, he played in all 14 games with 2 starts and earned honorable mention all Big 12 honors as he finished with 951 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns while averaging 5.5 yards per carry. Burkhead accounted for 104 yards on 7 touches. In the opener against Western Kentucky, he ran 57 yards, including a 20-yard score and 5 carries while hauling in a pair of catches for 47 yards. Fast forward to his junior year, and Burkhead was in the starting lineup for every game during his junior season and was the workhorse for an offense that finished in the top 20 nationally in rushing. Burkhead opened the year with 75 yards, on just 11 carries against Tennessee Chattanooga, including a career-long 52-yard run. And then as a senior, he was limited to just 3 carries due to an injury early in the first quarter in his game against Southern Miss, and still ranked second on the team in rushing on the day with 68 yards and a touchdown. Um, and so he did not play in his second straight game due to the injury he suffered in the season opener against Southern Miss. And so, but when he was able to return the action, he certainly did do a good job for Nebraska, and just overall throughout his entire career, he showed that explosiveness, even going back to the stats that he had in high school with rushing for 1,700 yards. Certainly was out there making plays, but he did finish his senior year in 2012 with just 98 attempts for 675 yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. And so he would end up with his entire career with 3,329 yards rushing, averaging 5.2 yards per carry and 30 rushing touchdowns. Now, again, 2012 was impacted due to injuries, and he did have 15 rushing touchdowns as a junior. That should go unnoticed, as his junior was his best year statistically, as he finished with 1,357 yards there. So certainly, show the type of impact that he can have. And we've certainly seen splashes of that throughout the NFL, particularly with the Patriots. He has had games where he has went off, especially last season when he's been asked to do a little bit more. So certainly intriguing to see how the Houston Texans are going to utilize him in that offense and where he'll end up on that depth chart. But with that being said, thank you so much for joining me for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, as more news continues to drop, you can be sure to find it here. So thanks again for watching, and see you guys next time.